Hey there, and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug video. And I'll tell you what, it's been a while since I've done anything for this fandom that wasn't an episode review, or a breakdown of some kind, and since I kind of needed a change of pace, I thought today, why not spend some time making fun of some of the characters in the show for my own amusement? And hopefully yours as well. Now, there are many negative character traits that are exhibited by the various different characters in the show. But if there's one of these traits that seems to be almost universal throughout a fair few of the major characters of the show, it's this. They are the biggest, filthiest simps on the face of the earth. Like seriously. We have our main protagonists, Marinette and Adrien, simping for each other, even if they don't know it yet. We have Luca, who's a verified Marinette simp. Our two major villains, Natalie and Gabe, they're our evil simps. Hell, we even have a premium example of a platonic simp in Sabrina and a parental simp in Bourgeois. And he also simps his wife too. And those are just the ones I was able to come up with on the fly. There could be more that I'm just forgetting about. Like, who knows at this point? Regardless, this show loves these unhealthy relationship dynamics, and honestly, they are actually quite funny, at least when you think more deeply into it. Like, some of the actions that these characters undertake to try and impress or help the object of their desire for no other reason other than to simp them. They're actually quite funny, and so today, I thought I'd try to puzzle out who's the biggest simp in the world of Miraculous Ladybug. Is it the obvious answer? Or is it somebody more obscure? Let's find out, shall we? And so, I'm going to start off this list with an honourable mention. The Adrien Agreste stands. Those side characters and background extras whose sole role in the show is to simp for Adrien, to run after him in the streets screaming, to sob at his signed posters, and to wish beyond all hope that he'd be romantically interested in them. Now, they don't get a full place on the list because honestly, they hardly count as characters. But I thought they did deserve some acknowledgement. After all, they are superfans for a random model, and he spends the majority of his time trying to avoid them, and yet they don't care. I feel like they do qualify somewhat to be on the simp scale. But we don't know enough about the characters besides that one superfan guy. Ugh, creeper. And since we don't really know all that much, I don't think they really warrant a place on the main list, so they can sit here with their participation award and shut up. But let's move on, because we got some simps to rank. And we can start off with probably an unexpected entrant into the lowest position, Adrien Agreste. And I can already hear some of you shouting out, "Oh, but Adrien is such a simp for Ladybug." And I gotta say, yeah, I guess, but at the same time, is romantic interest the same as being a simp? And I'm honestly not sure it is. I feel like simps place way too much value into a person and act in ways that inherently make themselves and others inferior to the object of their desire. For the most part, I don't think Adrien/Cat Noir actually does that. I don't think he really sacrifices himself and his dignity. He doesn't destroy his own personal happiness to place Ladybug on a pedestal. I think he just finds her attractive and wonderful and is willing to keep shooting his shot regardless of whether she actually wants him to. I wouldn't say that really qualifies him as a simp, but more pushy and in desperate need of a consent workshop. Dude needs to calm down, put it back in his pants, and take no for an answer. But apart from that, I would argue he doesn't really embarrass himself in his pursuit of her, besides being creepy, and thus I don't really feel like the title of simp suits him all that well. And I feel like it's a similar thing for our next entrant, Marinette, because if anything, she's a borderline stalker who flunked out of being a simp. She didn't even make it that far. And you might be wondering, how can you fail? How can you flunk at being a simp? Well, I would argue that being unable to ever interact with the object of your simpery is a good start. I mean, she tries her best. Always having these grand plans to prove herself as his most dedicated simp to earn his love. She makes elaborate schemes, has bought gifts for every occasion, and has cultivated a huge obsession with the dude. But these plans never come into fruition. She never succeeds at actually putting any of them into practice. She never gets to show off how dedicated she is. She fails hard. No matter what. And he just goes about his business not realizing. And on top of that, it's not like she actively sabotages her life or makes herself look like much of a fool, at least compared to some of the other characters on this list, to get his attention. I mean, don't get me wrong, she tries her best in that regard, but she always fails. So instead of a simp, she more just comes across as a stalker who does weird shit like puts up posters in her room of her classmate, memorizes his schedule, tries to make out with what she believes is his wax model, literally stalks him, and has many times tried to sabotage any of his other romantic interests, no matter if they're a good person or a bad person. She's low-key crazy. And while she does have some key simp qualities, they aren't shown off as strongly compared to the characters higher on the list, Like, don't get me wrong, she's deeply and truly obsessed. But ultimately, I think most of that just remains in the background of her character. She never actually gets around to doing anything about her feelings because she's way too socially awkward. She's not a major simp, she's just cringe. Which brings us to Luca, who simps for Marinette pretty decently, but still in a minor way. At first, when we meet him, he's just a really nice guy. Friendly, kind, I'm guessing he's supposed to be attractive in universe. The total package! Hell, he even gets a date with her, and then he crashes and burns pretty hard as he can't handle her not telling him the truth about something. So, you'd expect, now that they've broken up, that they're going to have some space from each other to get over things, and then maybe they can return to being close friends. But nope. Dude initiates premium simp mode and does that thing after a breakup where one person just can't let go and keeps being like, but we can still be friends, right? And then he gets upset when the other person's just a little bit awkward about that. Like, this is literally his very next major story arc. So he makes himself look pretty desperate to have her in his life in any way possible, even if the healthy thing is to take a step back for a while. I don't know, just for a couple weeks. But okay, they become friends, and he seems to just suddenly ship her and Adrien. And, fair enough. You do you. Until he, has that one line of dialogue in that episode of the Careers Expo where he says something like, blah, 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 when people are true to themselves, it makes me love and admire them even more, or something similar like that. I can't exactly remember the line. Sue me. But it very much comes across that he still has a major romantic interest in Marinette, because he's, giving her the eyes and being like, ooh. And it's like, ugh, man, tell me he didn't just say that. Who the hell has so little self-respect that they try their utmost to bring together the girl they like, still actively like, in love with, at least in this context I think, with a different fella? I'm not saying he has to try and stay in the race, but have some self-respect and bow out gracefully. Don't try and wingman them. Gah! Premium cringe. Premium simp. But I would argue there are people much worse than this. And Gabe is one of them. Good old Gabriel Agreste, Hawkmoth, Shadowmoth, Monarch, the big butterfly, the ultimate villain, the main antagonist of the show, and he has been simping since day one. And simping a corpse. Ugh, damn. Because his wife Emily has been sitting in the fridge since episode 1. And honestly, I do think it's pretty hard to simp for your wife, but old Smoothbrain McGee manages to pull it off in a beautifully self-sabotaging way. By going insane and using magical jewels to wreak havoc over Paris in the hope that he's able to beat the shit out of 2 teenagers who also have magical jewels that give them superpowers. But this isn't the part that's simping. That's just very misguided love. The simping part is where he, in the process, heavily neglects and at times abuses his son, constantly puts him in danger, targets his friends, hurts people with the end goal of possessing their bodies, all so he can get the Miraculouses to rewrite existence so he can have his wife back. So he is a simp and also a deeply selfish person. But honestly, I still think there are even more characters that more deeply embody what it truly means to be a simp in Miraculous. After all, part of being a simp, and the reason all these big characters are so low, is that the best simps, as in the most pathetic and amusing simps, put awful people on a pedestal. People that don't deserve it. Whereas, Ladybug / Marinette, she seems nice. So's Adrien Agreste / Cat Noir. They're good people. And look, maybe Emily is actually that perfect too. We can't really judge unless we get a proper look at her personality. But for now, we kind of have to go off what people say. And thus she's perfect. And so, I can't really blame these characters for simping. But if you simp for a bad person, oof, that makes you a bigger simp in my view. And so, with that in mind, we come to our platonic simp. Or, maybe not platonic. It's up to you, I guess, up to your interpretation. And it's Sabrina. Yes, the girl who is obsessively invested in the life of Chloe Bourgeois. She does her homework, sometimes getting locked in the closet to do so. She follows her around, acts as her henchman, plays along with her bullying, does all the dirty work, and yet gets none of the reward and is treated like shit on the regular. But still, she is obsessed with being friends with one of the literal worst human beings on the show, and it comes across as very sad more than anything else. But even then, there are worse simps than her, like Andre. Because not only is he Sabrina 2.0 in his dealings with Chloe, letting her regularly walk all over him and do anything without any sort of repercussions. I mean, really, this is parental simping in action right here. But he also lets his wife just get away with treating him like trash. Like, She's the worst person. Remember, she gave birth to Chloe, and then she has to have what? Immediately cuckolded him? And then she leaves him and gives birth to Zoe. Damn, that's cold. And then he accepts her back after this, and the kid too, and raises her almost like his own, whilst her actual parents just ignore and shun her. This dude makes me sad. Good on him not taking it out on the kid, but for the love of God, get some self-respect and divorce the oxygen thief. Ugh. Simping. And look, we're close to the end. And so, the biggest simp on the show reveals herself. And surprise, surprise, it's Natalie! Let's be real, she's in love with Gabe, or she was in love with Gabe. And so, because she wants him to be happy, she sacrifices all sense of morality and kindness and helps him become a degenerate supervillain and hurt people, and basically gives herself a terminal illness to help him resurrect his wife. Imagine sacrificing your life to resurrect the wife of the dude who friend-zoned you. I get it, now at this point of the show, she's broken out of the haze, at least for now. But who knows what the future holds, and too little too late. Historically, is there a simp bigger than this? Literally giving her life to this truly awful man because she loves him, but he's a person who only cares about himself and his dead wife. Hell, he even sacrifices his son on the regular. This is truly sad. And on that depressing note, let's wrap up the video. And I will remind you that these are just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. Who's the show's biggest simp in your opinion? Do you like my list, or do you have some different thoughts? I'm curious for your opinion, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.